So you're saying that in this stream here, Paul
46.
has some words about the protest.
Eventually.
I'll watch a couple minutes before that just to get the full. Oh God. Yes. I guess,
Thumbnail.
yeah.
Screenshot that.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I should talk about like the protests and shit. I attended one of the No Kings rallies today, which was a pretty good experience. It was very affirming for me. You know, I think a lot of times we online here, we kind of think of that we are in our bubbles, you know, like that other people aren't having the realizations we're having. But one thing that Trump has done is he's like shifted real life into online discourse. I feel like everything we talked about online for the last 10 years is now becoming part of the mainstream dialogue, in large part because of Trump and Musk and, you know, the rise of the alt-right and sort of bringing things into this online space. And I guess the algorithmification of like Tucker Carlson and Fox News and shit. There were, I mean, by our estimations, there were tens of thousands of people at the one that we were at, which was, you know, one of the ones in the LA area, not the main one in LA. You know, so it was nice to know that other people, like regular people, all different sorts of people from all different races, age groups, everyone was there. You know, so it was a very cool experience to just see everyone united to this goal, which is fuck the fascists, right? Fuck Trump. We walked from my friend's house, who lives near where the protest was, to the protest. We were walking from the start of the like group for over a mile, and we couldn't even see where it ended. I'm talking about the crowd. So it just, there were so many people just packing the sidewalks, filling up parking lots and parks and empty spaces. And there were people in their apartments and on the balconies of their apartments waving flags. There was a whole motorcade. And then, you know, when we were leaving, as we were walking back from the way that we had like entered from, the whole, like a ton of the people just flooded into the streets, and there was a huge march down the streets, and everyone was, even the, you know, the people in cars were honking their horns in a good way to like assent to what was the message there. You know, there was just such a collective will to see Trump out of office, such a reaction that this country has to fascism and to rounding people up and to the erasure of due process and to the stripping away of human rights, to Palantir and Doge, to the genocide in Gaza, to this new war with Iran, to the tariffs, to deregulation, to destroying the airline industry, destroying women's healthcare, stripping gay, trans, bisexual Americans of their rights, their protections under federal law, cutting Medicaid. There's so many reasons. There's so many ways that Trump has betrayed his oath of office, what he's supposed to do. And seeing everyone out there, you know, hitting the streets, it really was just a great affirming experience. That is real America. Protest is real America. Standing up for your liberal rights is real America. Fascism, nationalism, that's not America. That's something else. It's this disgusting corporate infection. There's so much more power on our side. You can look at pictures of the protests, and I'm going to put in, I'll edit in here some of the pictures that I took at the protest I went to, and some of the, maybe some of the like other articles or whatever talking about the protest sizes will be in the description under sources, just so everyone can kind of get an idea of how vast and how many Americans there were involved in this. And then you look at that, and you look at Trump's pathetic fascist parade in which he disrespects the military. You look at his sad, angry speeches and his empty fields. 70 something million? Was it 47 or 74? I'm a bit dyslexic sometimes, but just millions of dollars spent on this giant waste just to show how big and strong we are, like against our own citizens. The same week he sends the Marines into my city to suppress our rights. He has the audacity. I mean, he's a fucking despot.
45 million.
Yeah, 45 million. Thank you. He's a pathetic despot, but I just hope he had a terrible birthday. I really do. Fuck him. Fuck the oligarchy. And that's the real America. That's how we feel. And I want people in other countries to know what you see from Trump and from the pathetic media companies that have, out of fear and greed, kowtowed to his whims, what you see of that isn't the real America. That's what the fascists, the Christian nationalists, want you to think we are. But they're the minority. And we're going to throw them out of office, and we're going to hold them accountable for what they're doing to our country. But I just want everyone to know that that spirit of liberty and that spirit of just valuing humanity and the truth and being outraged when there's a war of lies against you, that's still real. That's still able to cut through all the bullshit and the numbing passivity of living as a consumer in this country. We can get back to the video now. I guess I've said what I need to say. It was a good experience overall. And one other thing I want to say, just to leave you on a bit of a hopeful note with this little rant here, is that I realized when I was there, and then when I got back and I was watching the news and the coverage of all the different protests, all the beautiful protests around the country, and then the pathetic coverage of his military parade, what I really realized is there's some big key differences between now and between 1930s Germany. And we see so many things that Hitler did, or that Mussolini did, or that other dictators, both modern and past, have done. And we've seen Trump following their playbook almost by the letter, right? Like, we've seen him do things that we've seen in history. And so we see echoes of these dark times in our lives currently, but we don't want that. That's one big thing that's different between us and 1930s Germany. Hitler had mass support in the population during his reign. Trump does not have that support here. He's hated. We fucking hate him. Big difference. It's never going to work. He's never going to succeed in doing what Hitler did.
That's quite an opening speech.
Yeah, I'm going to edit a lot of that out probably. But
but
the reason we're watching the stream is because Paul apparently says some stuff about the protests and does some more lesser evil downplaying, it sounds like. Is that right?
I believe so. I posted my notes, and that's how we ended up here.
Okay, yeah, I was tipped off. I was hoping, like, starting it here, we wouldn't catch him in, like, 20 minutes of silence.
That's the first half hour it's for.
Yeah. Well, we're 45 minutes in.
Oh, yeah, the stock market crash was on a week off. Like, when
the tariff.
Yeah, the tariff tank.
Yeah.
The whole stock market fuckery was a week off.
Bro, you don't have to take a week off every month, right? If you're complaining, I don't know what he's complaining about, but I'm assuming he's complaining that big things in the news happen when he's off, which is weird if that's
Correct.
what he's complaining about, because he doesn't want to talk about the news. But like, you don't have to go off. You're your own boss. If you want to stream, just talk about it, right? Do your own reaction stream to it.
Stream so much.
Yeah.
Nope.
You're going to stream anyways. You're probably going to, I don't know,
Take a week off.
Yeah.
Something else, too.
Imagine, like, never mind. I don't want to. I'm not going to do a rant every 30 seconds.
People are so in their bubbles now.
Yeah, you don't say.
They don't care unless it's right on their doorstep.
Yeah.
Did Paul go to a protest?
I don't honestly know, but he hasn't gone to DC yet.
I don't care. Like, he should have at least, like,
by
driven.
history. He
He lives right near. I'm sure there were multiple protests in that
Doxing.
area.
It's always one of the things that, like, it's one of the idiosyncrasies of TJ that's always driven me a little nuts. Because TJ will make a video that's like, I love riots.
Is he doing my shtick?
Nope, he's doing the TJ stick.
Dude, is Paul
video.
doing my jokes?
I hope so, but he's not doing it.
Everyone, if you haven't seen it, watch my video that's going to be in the sources about TJ's love of chaos.
I love fire and riots.
No, you remember his video, right?
TJ's video?
Yeah, the one we were gonna like make an episode up, but then like
Oh, that I
rage
that I
quit.
noped the fuck out of really quick.
30 seconds.
That one,
in.
I sort of remember
That
it. I remember the first 20 seconds of it.
Yep,
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Go on.
I don't care about. I don't want to watch it.
Chaos. Cleansing herself. But if there was like a riot in his neighborhood and people were burning his house, he'd be like,
I mean, there aren't really riots, right? I don't think there were any riots in LA today. Maybe later on in the day. I know that they. So what I heard was that they had to clear out downtown LA, but I didn't hear about any riots.
Because there weren't any.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any riot. There was barely even law enforcement presence at the one that I was at. But again, I wasn't at the main one in downtown. There wasn't, it didn't seem like there was a lot of clashing with law enforcement. In fact, what I heard today with law enforcement was that a Republican pro-lifer murdered 2 Democrats and another one drove a car into a protest. So really, I mean, the violence always comes from either the authorities or the Republicans or conservatives or MAGA. Those are the cunts that are always starting shit. There was nobody burning any cars or anything at the one I was at. It was a pure expression of righteous hatred for fascism.
no,
They have
please
love.
stop. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I got.
TJ probably didn't go protest either, huh?
I don't think any of them did.
Yeah.
Guess that's an idiosyncrasy that he shares with a lot of people. Probably me too, to a certain extent. I'm not gonna lie that I, wasn't happy to see people standing on business in LA.
What?
I've seen it once in my life before, really.
Is he trying to say that LA was a riot?
Yeah.
There were very few instances of riots in the protest. Like, the protests were massive, right? Even the
We
ones
saw
in
the
Paramount
101
last
burning
week.
Waymo.
Yeah, I mean, there was one group that burned like 4 Waymos and then stood on top of one with a flag. The violence, he's believing like the Trump lie that it was some giant riot that would have burned down the city. That was the excuse to send in the Marines, right? It was very much a contained thing. And the ones who were acting that way, first of all, I don't even understand like the idea of like, I gotta be careful here. I understand that it's bad ops to see some dude standing shirtless on top of a burning car waving the flag of another country. I understand that that's bad ops. But there is a part of me that sees fire as a cleansing force that's going to destroy the structure that oppresses us. I understand the romanticism of that, okay? But that's a very selfish, childish way to treat the situation that we're in. And you shouldn't do it. Because what today should show you is that we don't need to do that to get our point across. And that our movement is growing without doing that. And just like, like I've always said, we want a revolution without destroying people's lives, right? We don't want, I don't want people getting arrested and losing their freedom because of this. Sometimes it's necessary where you have to, do opposite, you have to do civil disobedience and you'll be arrested for that. But I mean, make sure it's for something that you really believe in. You're really making a choice there. Your freedom is a precious thing, and so is your life. And when we do this, when we engage in this sort of thing, we're needlessly jeopardizing that. It's a very stupid way to think about it, but I understand that appeal for sure. The reason I say that is because I don't understand seeing that and pearl clutching, like seeing everything that's happening, seeing the ICE thugs, go into schools and people's workplaces and, terrorize a community, destroy the agricultural industry almost to meet these insane Nazi quotas. That's the true outrage. And some idiot standing on a burning car like the Joker is not offensive. I don't know, in the whole scheme of things, right? It seems really ridiculous to me. It's like people who point out that there's Nazis in Ukraine, right? Who are fighting Russians. Like you're really focusing on the wrong thing here, and you're ignoring so many factors of this. So I don't know. I don't care if, obviously if they burn down my apartment, I'm going to be pissed. But yeah, I don't think that burning down a corporation's property is the same thing as lighting a family's house on fire.
Really heavily. And it's cool to see that LA is standing on business again. But I don't love fire and destruction and riot.
So he's pro-protest. He doesn't think they're like a stupid waste of time or anything.
So far.
Okay.
Let it be suspenseful.
Okay.
It's and all that shit, you know. I just don't, you know. I don't worry about it either. Like, I'm not like crying, weeping big salty tears for, you know, some Walmart that got burned down or whatever.
Right.
But it's not something that like I revel in.
I'm glad that he is actually calling out TJ on his stupid hypocrisy, his asinine, cuntish way of making videos. That makes me happy.
Very rare.
That even Paul sees it.
There was a lot of good fun at LA about like the late night shit about like, oh, LA loves to burn, and they showed like the Dodgers winning the World Series. Shit burning in LA for that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, it's true.
I mean, LA is not the only city that has riots, right? Like, when sports teams do things like sometimes idiots riot, it's pathetic. The LA riots, you know, there was a lot of needless violent destruction that of course is not good, but those riots had a purpose. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like the Lakers won the sports ball championship or whatever, so they rioted. No, dude, Rodney King from the early 90s is what I'm talking about. Like, there was actually a reason for that, and it was a just reason, right? There was a reason to riot there, for sure. That's not the same thing as like a sports team winning a tournament or whatever.
LA loves a good riot. And
you understand we're furious, right? And maybe that's true. Maybe there is something about the culture of LA that makes us more likely to riot. And do you know what that thing is called? It's called being fucking based. We're like the French, you know?
you know, a localized sports riot is different than days and days of continuous craziness.
That's not what's happening, really, though. These protests have a purpose, right? And for the most part, they're absolutely justified and absolutely needed. And the people who are behaving like they shouldn't, first of all, are ICE, right? ICE is behaving like they shouldn't. Trump, who's calling in the National Guard illegally and against the wishes of our governor. By the way, I do want to say, well, I'm not the biggest Gavin Newsom fan in the world. And I feel like since even doing this channel, I've gone back and forth from like supporting Gavin Newsom to cringing at his podcast to now being extremely proud of my governor in this moment. You know, I am very happy that Gavin Newsom is my governor and that I do live in California here. Say what you will about Gavin Newsom, but in this moment, he's being exactly the leader that he needs to be.
Being dangerously based lately.
I guess so.
This one started in Compton, I think. This last round of it.
No, it started in LA, and then after LA on, you know, last Thursday, whenever that was, week and a half ago, there was the one in Paramount, which is next to Compton.
And then quickly moved to DTLA. And I don't know, man. Every time I look at the news about it, it doesn't show any signs of, like, stopping.
Today's supposed to be the big No Kings protest across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Listen how she says that.
Yeah, she's too good for it.
I just don't trust them 50-51 guys. I feel like it's a too lazy way to protest.
Yeah.
What?
As opposed to this? What? I think she's talking about the organizers. I don't know who she doesn't trust, but it's like, I don't trust the protests. It seems pretty lazy to me as I sit here getting fatter. Like,
oh, the 50-51 movement. The first 50-51 protests were a decentralized rapid response to the anti-democratic and illegal actions of the Trump administration and its plutocratic allies. The idea of 50 protests in 50 states on one day was born on r/5051 and spread rapidly on social media.
I see.
She doesn't trust him.
Fuck her. Protesting is important, especially now. You should be ashamed that you didn't participate. Yeah, this is whatever, who cares? I don't trust the protest organizers. Do you think like what? It's like when Christians think you can accidentally worship Satan or something. Like, we're protesting, but I don't trust the people who want you to do this. How do you know that you're actually not protesting for Trump? What does that mean?
I was a Satanist priest.
Yeah, I don't trust the protest organizers. So it doesn't mean anything. It does mean something. It's a very powerful statement, and it does cause change, and we are affecting change. And
organizers, like, it's just aimless.
Yeah, it's very diffuse. I mean, there is an organization who put it together. This specific day was organized, but even if you don't, like, wait, what are the motivations of the protesters? To get rich? Like, what does that mean?
I don't trust them.
I don't trust them. They're funneling leftist rage into the DNC.
It's when they get to abuse citizens with advanced weaponry with zero repercussions. I mean, I don't know if they love it. I don't know if every cop out there loves it.
I mean, if anyone has a reason to be scared, it's probably the cops.
Oh yeah, being a cop right now, and
it's probably immigrants, right? Immigrants probably have the most reason to fear, unfortunately.
LA is bad news bears, man, because cops live in LA. That's all there is to it.
They do. There are cops in LA.
Cops do live in LA, you dipshit. What?
What is he trying to say by that?
Like, what is the point of any of that? Like, you know,
it's bad for cops. They live in LA.
Being a cop in LA is the bad news bears because you fucking live there.
You know what I mean? You go out and fuck.
No. Don't know what you mean, bro.
You go out and fuck in the streets, and those people saw what you are and who you are. You're accountable.
Yeah, so you shouldn't abuse your power. Also, I feel like most police officers, like, this isn't obviously a rule, but a lot of police officers don't live in the communities they police, especially in a lot of these poorer urban communities, right? Maybe I'll find something for that in sources. You'll look in sources for that, whatever. It's my understanding that a lot of these, you know, a lot of the police who police downtown LA don't also live there, is my understanding.
Done something in your community. And you're accountable for that. I'm sorry.
The real reason people in the LAPD should be afraid is because some members of the LAPD are in a fucking gang. Like, and they're dangerous. Especially if you're an honorable person who does, you know, your job upright.
I don't know, some of them might not live in LA, some of them might commute, so they're not.
Well,
right.
I mean,
most of them.
You gotta understand. Yeah. Live in LA is abroad.
Yeah.
So yeah, they might not be in downtown, but
Mm-hmm.
they're in Pasadena. Or
yeah, that's not, well, I mean, they're not part of the community then down there.
They're in, you know,
maybe some of them are just like, I'm gonna commute all the way from Fresno. You know, there's people like that.
They're probably.
I don't think anyone's.
Los Angeles?
No one's commuting 10 hours a day to be a LAPD cop.
With traffic? On the 405?
Into LA too. That's multiple hours. That's like 3 or 4 hours one way.
Probably is, yeah. It's crazy people that are putting 600 miles a day on their car.
What? To be a police officer? I don't know about 50-51, but I don't trust this guy.
Or at least Bakersfield. I guess that's a little closer. Bakersfield.
Doesn't that burn his nostrils?
Everyone's got orders. Jawohl, Commandant. No. Everyone has orders. Everyone must follow their orders. That is true.
I was equating cops to Nazis.
They were just following their orders. That is true.
Is that even what he's responding to?
Nobody has
we'll be able to
ever
see the chat till tomorrow,
in prison
but
for following their orders.
Yeah, and of course, people who just follow orders are highly immoral, right? They really are the scum of the fucking earth. Anyone who says, what I think doesn't matter, I've abandoned my responsibility to determine what's right and wrong, and I'm just going to follow orders. Those are the true enemies of the world, right? That's always history's greatest villain. You know, and you should think for yourself, and if you're given an unlawful order, you should not do it. Obviously, that doesn't mean all police are Nazis. That's not what I'm saying. When I speak of that, I'm speaking more to ICE, who are ICE agents who are asked to do things unconstitutionally and to violate civil rights for people. There needs to be like a Nuremberg trial after we finally vote out the Trump regime, where ICE agents who were proven, and of course we have to have due process in this too, who are proven to have violated the law in carrying out the orders from the Trump regime, they need to be held accountable also.
I just hope that this latest incursion, if it accomplishes anything, I hope that it accomplishes disabusing this whole generation of the notion that the military are your friends. The military are the enforcement arm of the government, and they will shoot you in the streets if they have orders to do it. That is all you need to know about the military.
Remember that forehead thing you mentioned, like in a secret episode and or on a previous episode?
Yeah, the red
about how
upside down triangle on his forehead.
I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
But you already said, right?
Yeah, he said that he basically just said what I said, that the military historically has been the sort of the fascists. They're the tool of oppression.
Right,
well, he's right in the case of LA right now. He's right that the Marines are being used to oppress the people. I hope that we're the Marines. Guard. No, the Marines too. He deployed 4,000 I don't know if they've been deployed. He ordered 4,000 National Guards and 700 Marines to the streets of LA to intimidate and oppress the citizens here in this county.
No food and no quarters to sleep in
shitty conditions. He doesn't give a fuck about them. But the Marines were actually shown to be detaining people, I believe. I'll put that article in the sources. But the Marines have been used to suppress the people here, which, so in that regard, I'm not going to pretend like the military isn't, is above gunning us down. Like we've seen that historically happen at, Kent State.
The military is not there to protect you. It's to suppress you.
Right. I agree with him.
The military hasn't done anything that protected American citizens in a long time.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, look, like, I agree. Okay, let me say this. I agree that in the instance he's describing, the military is used for our economic interests, right? For our strategic global economic interests, really. And in the sense that you benefit and live in a safe country because of our military and economic dominance over the rest of the world, they do protect you in that sense. I'm not saying that that's like moral, but that is true. So, while they're not used to like protect you in the way that they should, overall they do protect you.
America is the military is the enforcer.
And I mean a military, forget our specific military, but a military is necessary for a country to survive, right? For a country to have sovereignty in the world, they have to be able to have an armed presence that's capable of doing and resisting violence from others.
Enforcement arm of American economics.
Yeah. See, Paul is actually a little bit based on this, I feel.
Yeah, but I can see the video title now.
Alchemist I agree Soil with Paul.
Admits that Paul was right all along.
Yeah, totally. If you watch this whole thing that we've recorded and that's your takeaway, then cope. Good for you.
I mean, he is really good
Live
at
in that world, baby.
Hearing, as you'll see.
I will say that Paul can say all these things, right? That he can make all these observations and he can have this criticism of the military and he can be outraged by the bootlicker or whatever.
The comfort of his backyard.
From the comfort of his fucking patio, 20 cigarettes deep, high as fuck, chilling. You should be out there, Paul. You should actually fucking, like, the fantasy of you traveling to DC and haranguing Congress people when you won't drive like 20 minutes into to be a part of something is fucking like, come on, bro. Like actually prove to us that you're not just a bloviating idiot. Prove to us all.
The soapbox.
Yeah. I mean, I know. And he already did. See, he's doing the same thing he did with No Confidence, where he says he's going to do activism and doesn't do it all over again. Prove to us you'll actually put your actions where your mouth is, hit the streets, prove that to us. because hopefully this won't be your only opportunity to do so this summer. Isn't this the whole thing that he pretends to believe in, like working class solidarity? There was solidarity today. You know, I'm not going to pretend like it was some workers' revolution or something, but there were people from all classes, this was a unifying thing. This is solidarity right now. This today, no kings is what solidarity looks like.
Can you obey a little harder? Let's see.
You're obeying. You're the one. So you are the one doing what the fascists want you to do. Sitting in your porch, consuming.
Yes. Tim Walz is telling people to not protest because someone shot some Democrat legislators and they're still on the run.
That's such a misrepresentation of what happened.
Wait for Paul.
Hold on. I just need to say why he actually said that.
Say it.
Okay. So he shot the two legislators, right? The two Democratic Congress people. And then he left his manifesto and a bunch of No King's Day pamphlets there with the threat of going and shooting up a No King's Day protest. So that's why Tim Walz said that. He said, hey, there's a shooter on the loose who's threatening to shoot up one of the protests, so don't go. I'm sorry. Like, it's not... That's why he said that, right? To be as like a state of emergency public safety thing. And as, you know, some of our friends in the server pointed out, there were still massive protests in Minnesota. Yeah, so the fear tactics didn't work and people still turned out. But that's why he said that. Because he's the governor, it's his responsibility in a state of emergency to keep people safe.
Tim Walz is telling people not to protest?
Yeah.
Dude, I saw a quote the other day.
Yeah, because, wait, tell them why, though. That's such a misrepresentation of why, right? You're leaving out, like, the whole reason. Okay.
This is the greatest thing, dude. A liberal is a person that supports every civil rights movement except the current one. And supports every...
What? Wait, who do you think was in the streets today? What the fuck? I'm a liberal. I support, I think, every civil rights movement. I don't support NAMBLA, but I support most civil rights movements. I mean, like, I was at the protest today. I vociferously have been speaking out against the crackdowns on immigrants and trans people, who are the two groups that are whose rights are most under assault right now, but everyone's rights are under assault. We've been outspoken about Kilmar. We've been, liberals have been at the forefront of this. You know who's not at the forefront of this? Leftists who sit out the protest on their patios. You're the one who's not at the forefront of this. You're the one right now who's not supporting civil rights. Because you didn't. You had the opportunity to do so for free, and you didn't. And that's on you, buddy.
Every show of force demonstration except the current one.
Wait, we're against every show of force except the current one? We're the ones in the streets, bro. Gavin Newsom is being threatened with arrest right now because of how he's advocating and fighting. He's suing Trump over his illegal deployment of the National Guard. He's a liberal, right? He's not some socialist. He's a liberal. You know, he's fighting against what's going on right now in the present. What are you talking about? Liberals are for every show of force except for the one that's currently going on, dude. He's lucky. Liberals aren't lazy dipshits like him.
That's a lib.
Fucking Bernie Sanders was like, remember MLK. They love pulling MLK.
Yeah.
As we covered in that whatever episode where we're with them and Bernie and Kyle, and I'll put that in the sources too if you guys want to check it out. In that one, we talk about how Bernie was he was part of the civil rights movement. He marched in the same, march. He was part of the March on Washington. We know why Bernie has a deep connection to Martin Luther King, because he was one of the people in his movement, and the same values of that movement are the values that we're using now in our fight against oppression and tyranny.
And Destiny started doing it too.
Of course.
You want to talk some more shit on Destiny, Paul, while he's not watching? Has Destiny dropped him, or is he still like an orbiter kind of?
Paul's been retweeting a bunch of Destiny tweets.
In a positive or critical way? Was he supporting or criticizing Destiny?
criticizing because he's not like understanding the 12 layers of irony in the Destiny post under. I don't know. He mentions Destiny later on about like how he doesn't go into the chat room anymore because Destiny doesn't have the room open anymore.
Oh, I don't know. I imagine he closed that when he got Me Too'd or whatever.
Are always happy
Probably.
to support a civil rights movement as long as it's in the path.
Dude, did you see he's like posting his fucking court transcripts and shit?
Yeah,
or
he's
like
been doing that.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
public record.
Usually it's my understanding that a lawyer would advise their client against doing that, but I guess,
No, he has the okay from his lawyer.
yeah, it's wild.
Everybody else is doing it. He's just going to cover it himself anyway.
There's a civil rights demonstration happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Libs are always against it.
What?
Always.
We're doing
Yes.
it. Wait, there was a civil rights. Wait, what? Hold on. There was a civil rights demonstration. I was there. I'm a lib.
The looters.
Listen
They
to him.
always decry the rioters.
Oh, here's another thing. If you think you're not a lib, like if you're one of those, like if you consider yourself a leftist or a progressive who isn't like a Twitter LARPer, and you think that you're not a liberal, I will prove that you are a liberal. I'll debate you on why the left should reclaim liberalism as their identity, and why, everything you think that you like about leftism is rooted in liberalism. And that's foundational to our fight against tyranny right now.
Is this your change your mind?
Yeah. If you want to actually debate why leftists should, about like why if you're a leftist and you think that liberals are bad, or liberalism, being a liberal is something negative or anti-left, then we should talk. So comment and I'll respond maybe.
They always...
Unless you're an idiot. If you tell me that... here's the very small litmus test that you need to pass. If you comment and tell me that like you have criticisms of, Vosh, for example, and that my criticisms of Vosh are stupid, and that if I want to know what good criticisms are, I should watch your video about it, and then I go to watch your video about it, and your video is that you have criticisms of Vosh, but you're not smart enough to know what they are, then I'm not gonna have the conversation with you.
That's highly specific, isn't it?
Yeah. If you're that type of person, then no. But other than that, let's have an open discussion.
Always decry the demonstrators. They're waving the wrong flag. Boo hoo 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 hoo.
Protesting is a liberal thing. It's part of liberal revolution is to protest against your government.
Boo.
And every time they invoke MLK turns in his grave.
Yep. He's spinning in it constantly now. Nowadays, MLK is literally just spinning in his grave at the speed of light.
Yeah.
Everyone except for Paul misrepresents my legacy.
I think that was in the transcript. Pull it up.
You talk to a liberal about the civil rights movement in the 60s, and they will proudly and smugly claim that they're on the side of that and that they support that.
Yeah.
And that they would have been there.
Yeah.
Some of them are even old enough to say, I was there.
Yeah, and they were. Like Bernie. Is he making
Was that
fun
a
of Bernie
Sanders?
Again? Yeah, that was a Bernie Sanders. So. What a dipshit.
Damn, the shade.
You know what? Here's another thing I feel fucking great about. I could actually say that if I was there, I would be marching because that happened today. There was a protest that I was compelled to be a part of, and I went to it and I participated. So yeah, I actually do know that if I were back in the 60s and had the opportunity to protest against segregation or some other fascist bullshit, that I would do it. So fuck you, Paul. You're the one who doesn't support civil rights because you wouldn't, because you didn't today. Cunt.
But when it comes to
and Bernie did. Bernie was arrested at a protest, idiot.
Actual.
You don't know anything.
Direct action being done in this country, they always have a reason why you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't actually go out and protest. Boo!
What? Wait, hold on. Bernie's been going around the country doing rallies, his anti-oligarchy tour. He turned out
that, like,
the last
Americans...
time when he was here in LA, he turned out over 35,000 people. He's not saying don't protest. Bernie Sanders explicitly encourages people to protest this weekend a day or two ago. So you're a fucking retard. You're so fucking stupid. You should be ashamed of how stupid you are. You're a stupid fucking retarded hypocrite who's sitting on his ass right now while you're sitting here smoking your 20th cigarette. You should be on your fucking way to a protest. You should be in your car as you're recording this on the way to a protest streaming that. That's what you should be doing if you weren't a fucking retarded hypocrite. That's what you would do. You're going to pretend like Bernie wasn't at a protest in his time when he was at a protest. He was arrested while he was at a protest. He was at several protests, whatever. Go watch that video if you want the whole thing. And you're also explicitly misrepresenting what Bernie said. Bernie did encourage people to go protest. You're lying about what he said.
Here's another thing. Peaceful. Liberals are always anti-war, except for the current one.
Liberals have been protesting the genocide in Gaza. Do you think that there's different people marching at that versus the No Kings protest? Like, the people who have been protesting for Palestine have been protesting for Trump too, have been protesting against this. You know, if you look at the Iraq war, when the Iraq war happened, like, the liberals, like, were the ones against that.
For whatever reason, they hate war, except whatever.
Almost unanimously, people on the left, liberals, Democrats, especially Democratic voters and pundits, are anti-war. I'm not anti-every war. Like, I think sometimes there's a cause to go to war, but usually of most of the wars, they're bad. This current war, I'm against. I'm against any involvement.
He's against all wars.
I'm against any. He's not. He's a useful idiot for the worst, the worst violators of international law, the worst war criminals Paul pretends to be against, and maybe he thinks he is against. He's a useful idiot for them, and that's something that's going to be covered in great detail in our upcoming, very special, deluxe, once-in-a-lifetime Paul versus Ukraine extravaganza that's coming up eventually at some point. Oh, he means like we support Ukraine. Is that what that has to be what he's talking about? Because a lot of liberals support. That's the current one that we could get involved with, but and most liberals are unanimously against that. I support aid to Ukraine. He's
specifically talking about Iran.
Like I said, it's on a case, and I wouldn't support like American soldiers fighting in Ukraine, so I wouldn't be pro-war in that way. But I'm pro helping Ukraine to defend themselves for sure. I'm not going to go into detail of that here because that's going to be covered very extensively in that upcoming video.
What happened with you and TJ?
What happened?
Me and TJ still do a show together.
Today?
Yeah, I've got a meeting with TJ, hopefully, in a couple hours. We'll do a show Tuesday. And we'll do a show Friday, and we're going to be filming patron exclusive stuff all throughout the week. I got a new Hey Paul, What You Watching on deck, steaming, ready for me to film it.
Oh man, those are brutal. I only watched that first one, but talk about every fucking movie being the same rating. These are 5, like, I have 2 ratings. Watch it or don't watch it. All 5 movies, watch it. Thanks. They're all from like 40 years ago too. But I think we're going to end this here. I don't want to listen to him talk anymore. Hey, thank you guys for watching. What a fun time. I had an amazing day at the protests. I do hope that there will be more protests throughout the summer and throughout, until we do finally get Trump out of power. I do hope that more and more of you will participate in that. I can tell you it is a very nice feeling. It's something you can do. Bring your family, bring whoever you got, hit the streets, be seen, be heard, be a part of this, fight back. And thank you for watching. I've got a lot of stuff coming out on this channel, hopefully soon. Later.